Welcome to the Put Me On Game podcast. I'm your host, Chesterr. With me today, I got a legend in the building. And normally people say legend, and it's like they just like gassing. I don't like doing too much gassing unless it's necessary. But I got a legend in the building, man. We got Nervous Reck in the building, man. How you doing, man?
What up, bro? Appreciate you. Good to be here.
Man, I'm excited for this, man. I've been waiting a long time. Definitely when I first thought about doing a podcast, you was top 2 on the list. But we know top 2 on the list, for sure. But definitely, man. I want to get straight into it with you. We got a lot to talk about.
All right.
How did the name come about? I think that's a lot of people's curiosity. And
Which name?
the rap name.
Nervous Reck?
Yes, sir.
So, in that era, the name of my group was called Necessary Roughness, and we was a trio at that time.
Mm.
And my boy Snipes, who was called Devious back then, and Filthy was called Chatterbox, right? And I was called Papa Tan.
Papa. Okay, so now that's why
So
you said which name. Okay, yeah.
That's it. So, those was our early rap names. And then, we started switching up our names. And I remember my mom was watching a soap opera or something on TV one day when I came home. And the girl goes, "Oh my God, you're a Nervous Reck," on the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that, I was like, Nervous Reck. And it just hit me. And I hit the crew with it like, "Yo, I'm Nervous Reck." And it was just like, "Oh shit, Nervous Reck, blah, blah, blah." So that's it.
At what age was this?
That was probably maybe 14, 15, something like that. Maybe 16.
Maybe 16. Okay, because you're from the west side, right?
The West Side, yep.
I just been having a lot of West Side people on recently. I'm from around the corner, so it's all love. It's all love, but
Yeah, I'm from Old Ponderosa, by the way.
Old Ponderosa.
Old Ponderosa, Yak and Road. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, see, yeah, I gotta have some fun times over there.
Yeah.
So we go from there. We switch the name up. When did Bomm Sheltuh start to form? Because we was already in the group, and then things changed, life happened.
Yep. So the group I'm telling you about, Necessary Roughness,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in 11th grade. My man Snipes dropped out,
Mm-hmm.
and me and Filthy became a duo. And we kept that name for like maybe another year. And then in 1996,
Great year.
during Hurricane Fran, came through and wrecked the city. Me, Filthy, and my brother was in my shed at the Sheltuh house. And we just kind of had the door open. We was smoking a blunt, and we were just watching the wind blow the trees and just watching the rain. And it was kind of relaxing. We was just chilling. And then we was talking about how the shed reminded us of a bomb shelter. And I was just like, "Yo, we in a bomb shelter." And, Filthy was just like, "Bomb shelter?" It's like, "Yo, that's kind of an ill rap name." "Yeah, it is." Then Filthy being, Filthy, he always like think of ways to spell stuff. So he started going BOMM. That's how we gonna spell bomb. You know what I'm saying? But like literally, Hurricane Fran, when it was coming through the city, that's when the name Bomb Shelter was born. And we felt like, it's kind of stuck because we some military brats.
Yeah.
We in a military town. You know what I mean? A lot of our like material up to that point was very Army and Air Force influenced, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we was military kids, so we just felt like Bomb Shelter fit. You know what I mean?
Because that's what I was going to go to next, too, because some people might not realize all the spellings isn't obviously proper, but I'm assuming that's because something had to stand out around that time. You're trying to build your name, coming, here, everywhere in NC, really.
Yeah, like I said, that was Filthy a lot of the times. I mean, he was like, we all were huge like Hit Squad and Def Squad fans. His favorite artist was Redman, you know what I'm saying? So it was always like the very distorted imagery and like ways of spelling things. So like, yeah, of course, BOMM is bomb and Sheltuh is SHELTUH.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the regular spelling, and it's crazy because
it's always stuck out.
Yeah, after all these years, I didn't know people didn't even know that it was Sheltuh, because I've had like 3 people in the last couple of years be like, the whole time I thought it was Bomm Sleuth. And I was like, who's told you it was Sleuth? Like
Like,
I
where did that
guess
come
when
from?
you look at it and you're dyslexic or something. I don't know, but like sleuth, some people thought the word was sleuth, and I'm like, why would we be Bomm sleuth? Yeah. It's Bomm Sheltuh. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's just amazing. To clear that up. You know what I mean? That's how it is when you know, changing the spelling of words, I guess. You know what I mean? That's
amazing, because I always try to do my history. I've been here since I came from New York, so I got here when I was in first grade. So basically, I'm from here. I've been here long enough. So, you know, you hear whisperings of like, you know, especially I'm not pre-internet, but I'm like Motorola Razr, like around that time, like, you know, when MySpace was first coming around, I'm looking at my sisters like, what's this? You know, so I'm not too internet with the kids with now, but definitely around that time, you know, you hear names and whispers and, you know, they telling us all about the, you know, different rappers and stuff. And I'm like, okay, but everybody can't last. But definitely Bomm Sheltuh has lasted and will forever last in this city. And I'm always proud of that.
Appreciate that.
So how did we get into producing, though? Because around this time, you know, this isn't like I could download FL Studios or something. Back during that time, everything was expensive. So how did curating come into that, like as far as recording and getting your start in it?
The whole journey is a very long story, you know what I'm saying? But let's just say I started out DJing when I was in Germany. I discovered hip-hop as soon as I moved to Germany in '84. The first day I was there was some kids breakdancing, and that was my introduction to, you know, hip-hop when I was 7 years old. And, you know what I mean, that turned into me DJing, and there was this Newmark mixer that I always wanted when I was overseas, and it had this little button on it that was a sampler, and it sampled for 4 seconds. So, you know, right before I was getting ready to come back to Fayetteville from Germany, I saved up my money. I was working at the commissary, and I saved up like $750 to get this mixer. My father told me to wait. Like, as soon as we get back to States, there's going to be more options. Long story short, I came back. There wasn't more options.
It wasn't more options.
So we had somebody over there pick it up for us and bring it back. And that, you know what I mean, really, I would just sample, you know, drum breaks on it for 4 seconds or whatever beat on it for 4 seconds and have cats from the neighborhood come over and rap and freestyle and practice and stuff like that. And then, you know, that's really where Necessary Roughness got they start from. And, you know, Bomm Sheltuh continued that on. It was a lot of just loops that I was doing.
Okay.
And then, you know, we got an opportunity to go into a couple studios and then finally met Sean Beeman. I don't know if you ever heard of Sean Beeman.
That name sounds real familiar.
He's definitely a Fayetteville legend, and he definitely taught me a lot. I consider him an OG. He's one of my OGs, you know what I'm saying? But we got introduced to him. He was using the ASR 10, and that's a keyboard that you produce on. And he was like, you know, a Pete Rock of Fayetteville at that time. He was super nice.
That's amazing.
And a couple years after, you know, doing music with him, around 95, right before Bomm Sheltuh was born, I rented the house from my parents. They moved away. They got stationed somewhere else. And I started renting the house, and that was like the Sheltuh years, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's when the Sheltuh started. And I got myself an ASR 10 as well. So that's when I started producing. Sorry, that was long-winded, but you got to know the history.
100% needed. So when, like, people really, because at some point, I mean, hopefully everybody in the room still feel young, like young forever. But I'm starting to notice, especially, you know, with working with the nonprofit and the kids and stuff, like, we started when we was like 22, 23. I'm about to be 30 this year. Like, right. Time went by quick. So it's like now it's like, down, you know, like now it's nurturing, like, you know, under trying to, hopefully it's 10 more of me that get inspired and it just keep going and going. So, you know, it go from Sean to you to to me, to GB, to Cam, to, you know, and it's just gonna keep going.
That's it. And to that point, you know, there wasn't a lot of opportunities back then either. So it's fire to see, you know what I mean, how y'all took it up to the next level. And then what y'all doing is gonna inspire the next cast to come up. You know what I'm saying? Like, even having a building like this, you know, we had a building very similar, you know, for a studio back in the day before I moved out of Fayetteville, but it was like 10 times smaller than this. But at the time, it was like, oh, they got a building. They, you know what I mean? They doing their thing. So it's like, now y'all here, y'all got a bigger building, and y'all, you know what I mean? Y'all teaching the youth and all that. Super fire, bro. And just imagine what you about to inspire, you know what I mean, in the next era.
That's the goal.
Yep.
That's the goal. So we producing, Now we got the Sheltuh. Now, in this era, just reminiscing on that time. Because about how long you want to say that era was? Just about 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Or
Which era are we talking about? The Sheltuh era?
yeah, the early days of it.
So like, I got the crib in 95 and the ASR 10. 96, Bomm Sheltuh was born. And like I said, it was just a continuation of the previous group.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of really honestly sat low for like 2-3 years, just putting in them 10,000 hours and mastering our craft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm developing my sound as a producer, you know what I mean? And I'm over there working on beats and Filthy's writing, and he'll have something, and when I get done writing or making the beat, I'll, you know what I mean, add something to it. So it's like we kind of just developed our chemistry over them years. And it wasn't until 1999 that we first decided to put something out.
Mm.
So it was like, you know, from 96 to 99, 3 years of us just
working.
with our head down working. You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know which story I want to ask you about first. I ain't gonna
Ask me anything, man. We good.
Man. Oh, no, we could edit anything out, too. Trust me. We could edit anything out. So I saw a story one time that you and Filthy went up to Raleigh and y'all met, I think his name was Red.
Yeah, this is true.
If you just want to give that story just a little bit of...
Bro, this is probably the craziest day of my life, and really it deserves its own podcast story, to be honest. That joint was crazy, but I'm just going to try to sum it up in like a couple of minutes, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But Sean Beeman, he moved up to Raleigh to become a manager up there where he was working at. And, you know, once he got up there, he was just like, yo, there's this cat that comes through all the time getting his cars washed. I think he got a little bit of money. I've been letting him hear y'all music. He like y'all music. And, you know, he's talking about, you know, he wants to, you know, meet y'all and, you know, see what he wants to do with y'all. I'm like, all right, bet. So we get on the phone with him, set it up. We end up going up to Raleigh, you know, within another week or so. We took the Greyhound bus up to Raleigh. Because this was like...
Going to Uber or nothing like that. So
wasn't none of that. And, you know, it was an hour and a half away. So it was like our parents was like, I'm not taking you to Raleigh. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, excuse me, that's how we got up there. Man, it's so crazy, man. But basically...
I read it, so I know.
Right. So the cat pick us up from the bus stop. And let's just say he just takes us out on the town. We out talking to chicks at the bar. He takes us to the club. We actually perform at the club. Mm-hmm. He sets it up to where we perform, which we wasn't expecting to do. And, you know, we were just clubbing and bar hopping the whole night, having fun. And then at the end of the night, we went to Duke University to get on the radio. Mm. And after the radio interview was done with, we walked into the room, and he pulls out, like, out of the drawer, like 2 contracts. And he's just like, yo, this is what it is, you know what I'm saying? We starting a record label, blah, blah, blah. Y'all gonna be the first artist. I need both of y'all to sign this right now. Sign it. We're going to keep the party going or not. Don't sign it. Go ahead and just take y'all to the bus stop and send you home.
Crazy setup.
So it was like, this like the type of shit you hear about. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, like that's how he did it. So we sit in the room, bro. And we, like I said, 11th, 12th grade. And we sit there and we talking amongst ourselves like, yo, you going to sign it? I don't know. You going to sign it? I don't know. Yo, fuck it. Let's sign it. So we signed the shit. There was no talk about money. There was no talk about lawyers, none of that.
You're not even thinking about that. You just like...
And it was the most basic contract, you know what I'm saying? Like a couple lines and the signature thing. And yo, we signed that joint. And then it's like a couple days later, we back in the Ville. And I get Sean Beeman on the phone. And he's like, yo, how'd the meeting go? I was like, yo, yeah, we signed with him. And he was like, yo, you signed with him? What the... Why would you sign? I ain't tell y'all to sign. I told you wanted to talk to y'all. Mm-hmm. It was just crazy, bro. There's like a whole bunch of other things that was involved in that story, and I'm gonna tell it, you know what I mean, at another time when I could tell the full story. But the dude Red, shout out to Red, wherever you may be at right now. Them was some crazy times, bro. Mm-hmm. That was a wild dude, you know what I'm saying? Peace to Red.
Now, is this before or after Food, Clothing, and Sheltuh?
That was just way before Food, Clothing, and Sheltuh.
Way before.
Yeah, that was like I said, 94, 95. That's when that was. Okay. So that was, you know, before we had anything out at all. Like
this was just
we had like demos on cassette tapes. That's what we had. And to record on those cassette tapes, here's another thing that, younger cats might not know about, especially how easy it is to record today on computers. Back in the early days at Sean Beeman's house, we used to have to go in there and he'd record the beat to a tape and take that tape and play it while we rapped onto another tape. So it was two different cassette decks. And then we would take that cassette, put it back in there and do it again to do ad-libs on top of it. So it was like we was recording and losing quality every time we recorded over top of the tape. And by the time you got it, it was just a muddy garbage mess. But that's how we recorded back then before we had 4 tracks and computers and all that. We recorded cassette tape to cassette tape.
I think I remember my brother having something like that in the house. Because, of course, everybody wants to be a rapper. So everybody, especially during that time, DMX out and Jay and everything. And I'm just, all right, whatever you're doing, just finish. So.
That's it. But yeah, that's all we had. You know what I mean? It was recordings on cassette tapes. And that's what the dude heard. And, he wanted to sign us from that. It's a whole nother long story about what happened, but basically nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really much of a future after that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Okay. I definitely want to speak to how that album came about, though, because I'm not aware. Again, y'all lasted the test of time.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of anything of much that happened around that time during Fayetteville. I'm pretty sure there's other, cats that put stuff out. But if there's like an album of, hey, what dropped around in Fayetteville around this time, like that's like you hear about that, like you just asking, how did this album come about?
Well, the first thing we put out was bombsheltuh.com, the EP, which was a 4-song EP.
Okay.
And we got that pressed up. And arguably the first rappers to ever have their own website. I've actually tried to research this myself online, and the information is not really there, but it does show that in 98, bombsheltuh.com was registered. So, it's kind of hard to tell the proof, but it's possibility that Bomm Sheltuh was the first rap group with their own website. So that was dope in and of itself, but we named our EP that just to promote the website. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't no selling on the website, none of that. The website was literally just a bio and pictures of us.
Just
so people
we got it.
That's it. We have a website.
Yeah.
So that was first. And then after we got that done, that's when we started moving on to the album. And 2 of those songs from the EP made it on the Food, Clothing, and Shelter. And, Food, Clothing, and Shelter was just a lot of songs that we recorded during that EP time and like right after. You know what I'm saying? And we was also like transitioning from recording on a 4-track at that point to recording on a computer with Cool Edit Pro. So most of them Food, Clothing, and Shelter album recordings were on a 4-track and transferred over to Cool Edit Pro. Cool Edit Pro is Adobe Audition, which is a recording program. You know what I'm saying? And that's a lot of radio stations still use it. You know what I mean? But that's what we started recording on when it came to computers and shit like that.
I heard that one of the 2 tracks that transferred over?
Definitely was. I heard that was one of them songs that was on the EP and it made it onto the album. And at the time, that was like our little regional hit. You know what I'm saying? That was the one that kind of stood the test of time. We did a lot of promotion for that, a lot of, creative things. Like I'll give you one quick example. Nelson and Nelson, I'm sure, is that still around? Nelson and Nelson Chiropractic? So back then, you know what I mean? They was just kind of not really starting out. They've been around for a while, but I'm sure they still do a heavy promotion on the radio, on TV and stuff like that. And it was Filthy's idea, like, yo, maybe we should do a commercial for Nelson and Nelson, and then they'll play it on the radio, and then people can be hearing us. So we took I Heard That beat, which was our song that Foxy and 104 already played. Not heavy, but they would play it once in a while on the mix shows and stuff like that. So we used the same beat and made a Nelson and Nelson Chiroprac. They can help you with that. Such and such hurts your back, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Rapped chiropractic lyrics on the beat. Met up with them. They liked the commercial. They put it on the radio. So then it became, yo, I always hear y'all on the radio. You know what I mean? But it was really the commercial, but they just hearing the beat thinking I heard that the whole time.
That's even great marketing.
That shit was genius. You know what I'm saying? That was all Filthy. That was his idea. He killed that. And when it came to the radio, Filthy was always the cat that was like, because we used to get rejected a lot. You know what I mean? Especially in the earlier days. that's a long story as well. But like, you know, in the later days when we was Bomm Sheltuh was established and we was making moves, they would still say, yo, we need like have people requested and all that. And I'm talking about Filthy would sit at the crib all day, every 30 minutes and call somebody, yo, call up and request it. Like 5 people every 30 minutes. Yo, call up to the radio station, request it. I bet I got you. And then it became a point like, all right, everybody requesting y'all joint, so we'll play it. So yeah, it's just like, you know, things like that we did in the past to like, you know what I mean, try to break through, find creative ways, just like anybody would do in marketing their product. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say, especially you don't have nobody to look. It may be so, if I'm speaking wrong, you don't have nobody to look towards like, all right, how are we gonna do this? We're in Fayetteville. Granted, you know, we got 295 now. That's crazy.
That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the information was very scarce back then. There wasn't no YouTube and you can figure it out on your own. You know what I'm saying? All you had to do was go check out a book or, you know what I mean, read it in a magazine or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a VHS tape, somebody could tell you something, but information wasn't out there. So you just had to get creative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think also, too, I mean, I hate to say it, as time is going on, it's getting less creative with AI and stuff. Kids ain't going outside either. So, like,
that's a fact.
I hate that. But one thing I did want to ask you about is the infamous show that you guys threw, and how did that come about? Because the anniversary was the other day, right?
Yes, it was. February 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, you know, we had started getting a buzz in the city, you know what I'm saying, after putting out the album and all of that. And, you know what I'm saying, some of my fellas that's here with me today was there in that era when we went and did the sticker campaign across the city where we spent 2 days just riding around, putting up the stickers all over the city, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it became like people would walk up and be like, yo, I seen y'all at the bus stop. I seen y'all in the payphone. Anywhere where you could put a sticker at, we slapped a sticker on the front of Walmart, in front of the mall. We had stickers all over the city. So we started getting a buzz, people checking out the music. We also at this time selling CDs out the trunk. You know what I mean? We'd be all over different spots, and then we eventually settled on the BP right in front of the mall. That became like our spot for, you know, reasons like, you know, it's one of them things where
extracurricular activities.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? But that, not only that, but it was like, from where we used to post up by the dumpster on the side of the building, and that was where the employees inside couldn't see you. So it's like one thing when you posting up selling CDs, right?
Yeah.
The owners or the guy working inside see you, they'll come out and run you off. But at the BP, you could post up and they would never see you on the side unless somebody went in and told. So we would mainly grab cats that was walking out of the store and be like, yo, you like hip hop? You like hip hop? That was the line. And that just became the spot because you can kind of stay hidden off in the cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
We was talking about how the show came about.
So we doing those things and we getting known in the city. So it's time for us to do a show, right? We had already been friends with Terry Grimble from DeVille Skate Shop. Now, back then it was Duh Skate Shop and Skate Zone. He was a fan of ours. We was a fan of his. He said he was setting up a hip hop show, and he had a cat coming from out of town, and he wanted us to be on the show, and we like bet. So I made that flyer that I posted the other day. I made that joint, yeah, and just started just posting it around town and things like that, and then at the same time, that part of the story is when Cole comes in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he started hitting me up on AOL Instant Messenger, and after a couple of days of me not responding to him, I hit him back and was like, yo, we're having a show on February 25th. And after the show's over with, we have an open mic. So come out, get on the mic, show your skills. And he did that. February 25th, 2000 came. After the show was over with, you know what I mean? The show was fire. We had like all our friends and family out there. And, you know what I mean? It was just a great time to, be in the building and witness that. And after it was over with, young Jermaine and, several other cats was spitting on the mic. And, he had introduced himself to me before the show. He was like, yo, I'm Blazer. I'm like, I bet, nice to meet you. You know what I'm saying? And then after he was up there on the stage spitting, I was just like, yeah, this cat is nice. So I invited him back to the Sheltuh, and he came over there for the first time, and soaked up game and was just, you know what I mean, peeping how everything was moving. And eventually he just became part of the crew and, you know, got on recordings with us. We got Bomm Sheltuh songs with him that still haven't been released. And the first project he was a part of is called Vietnam Bombers.
I was gonna ask you about that because I've been looking everywhere for that. There's only one song that from there that's like out in the world. Not like looking. Is that eventually ever going to come out?
That's a great question. To answer your question, yes. This year we're gonna re-release Vietnam Bombers, and we're doing Vietnam Bombers 2. You heard it here first on Put Me On Game podcast.
I love when I get exclusives.
You got the
Love
exclusive, bro.
Love that.
Vietnam Bombers 2 coming soon.
Love that. Now, I was listening to Final Wish or My Wish? Which My Final Wish. Was that previously recorded or was that recorded after everything happened?
Man, that's a great question. And yes, to answer your question, it was previously recorded back in the Bomm Sheltuh days. And like, he just wanted to write a song about his death and what he would do. You know what I'm saying? And what I need to do with his belongings and things like that. That was like his last will and testament. That's what it was. And, you know, of course, it's definitely like surreal that, you know, it happened and it's, you know, definitely unfortunate. But it's also kind of eerie too. You know what I'm saying? It's like he kind of predicted a lot of what went down. You know what I'm saying? 20 years before it happened.
I think that's in the art of storytelling, a lot of the times if we're curating it, if we're rapping, if it's poetry, if it's however it comes about, sometimes, you know, we speak life into things. Sometimes it's just, okay, I'm just thinking it. You know, of course, definitely that shouldn't have happened how it had to happen. But I was just listening to it, and I was like, man, I was listening to it so much, I was trying to pick up if your verse was new, or if that was your older voice, or if that was
an old verse. It's all made back then.
Yeah. Man, rest in peace, Filthy, though. That's definitely
Forever Filthy.
Definitely rest in peace to the legend.
Yes, sir.
But as far as now you're, you want to say executive producing?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, man.
I do a little bit of everything?
I do it all, bro.
A little bit of everything
I
now.
got the label, I produce,
Yeah.
I still rap, I still, you know what I mean? I still do music. I don't rap that much, but I still rap, you know what I mean?
Yeah, at least make sure the pen, you know, you can at least do something.
I curate, you know what I mean? And I'm, you know, the thing I'm doing now is I'm trying to put PFG in position, you know what I mean? Because I feel like PFG is a star, and you know what I mean? That's what I'm doing.
How is it different from making to now curating? Because I'm now, let's say more so backseat, like you can't rap for him. He's a great rapper.
Yeah.
You can't rap for him, but it's like, hey, let's do. You know how like LeBron and Jordan and Kobe, they'll try to tell you how to do the move, but I can't.
Right.
I can't do the shimmy shake.
Right.
How is it different in those two lanes?
Well, I feel like if you're a creative person, no matter what the medium is, you're going to find a way to get out your creativity. So, you know, making music with Bomm Sheltuh, you know, back then, even when I, you know, walked away from music, I was still producing. And when I wasn't producing, I was editing videos, which is still being creative. You know what I'm saying? If I wasn't doing that, you know, I owned a T-shirt printing shop with a couple of my boys at one time. I was doing that. I'm doing graphic design. You know what I mean? So like no matter what I was doing, I was still being creative. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you're a creative person, the things that you invite into your life are always going to be some kind of way to, you know what I mean, for you to get your creativity out.
Is the original Sheltuh still accessible?
Actually, somebody owns it now. Is a dude there. I think his name is Larry or something like that. I went by there one day, and he wasn't home, but his daughters was there, and I just introduced myself, and I was just like, yo, you know, I used to own this home, you know what I mean, things like that. I just want to know if he could contact me and maybe talk or whatever. And then one time he did, and I just explained to him the history, And, he respected it. And he's just like, yo, anything you ever need, you know what I mean? Let me know. I went there a year and some change ago and shot a video, one of my songs that I just never put out. I shot a video in front of that joint, you know what I mean, with his blessing and all of that. So, it's still there. I mean, accessible? Nah, I wouldn't say it's accessible.
But still, like, yeah. I think it's one of them, like, just landmark things. Like, obviously, this school got the history, it's first E. Smith Black School. Forest Hills, downtown, just certain, like, places, I just always you get the energy just from being around it. So definitely I might just drive by one day and
I just drove by it today.
Today,
Yeah, I just drove by it.
I still feel the same way. Like, my old house I used to live at, over off of Vienna Drive, over there by West area and stuff. I don't know if you know over there. Like, sometimes, like, I just need to get inspired.
Right.
I just cruise by and just get the memories sometimes.
Yeah. Now, that's how it be for me every time I drive down, because my mother-in-law still stays right around the corner from the house. So, like, I'm always, when I'm in town, I go visit her anyway, so I always drive by it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And every time I just, of course, just reminisce about everything, the pets, my dogs in the backyard, you know what I mean? Like, all that just comes back to me, so.
I got 2 more questions for you.
Yep.
But definitely, you just gave me an idea with that one, because leaving isn't something I've done yet. Mostly because of the influence in, everything that we're doing here.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm cheating myself by not doing it, but once you did it, like, how did you feel?
You saying leaving Fayetteville?
Yeah. I mean, always gonna come back. I'm probably gonna dual live once I,
Right.
Here in Miami, here in Houston, one of the two. Okay.
Nah, for sure. You gotta live your life, man.
But
I mean, I left Fayetteville really because of music. You know what I'm saying? My man Bob Wyatt came to me in 2004 and was like, yo, I just seen a commercial for a engineer school in Raleigh. And I was like, what you mean? He was like, no, I'm talking about they got the studios and they teaching you how to work it and all that. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm going. And I was like, I'm going too. You know what I'm saying? So long story short, within like 2 weeks, we packed up everything and moved to Raleigh. And, stayed up there and went to school. And then, I just started new relationships up there and just started a new life up there. You know what I'm saying? But I left to, make my music better and, you know what I mean, bring it back to the crib. And, like, I still rep Vietnam all day. You know what I'm saying? Period.
For sure.
But yeah, I live an hour away now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nah, definitely. Now, I talked to Mark a little bit about this, especially with, we had the 2-6 Cypher here. Can we expect you to be on the next one in September? I know it's a long way from it, but
I mean, I'll just say you never know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm going to just say you never know. You know what I mean?
Never know.
That's it. We'll see. Y'all have to stay tuned. You know what I mean? Stay tuned.
Yes, sir. God willing, Mark, I tried.
He tried, Mark. He put me right on the spot. right on the podcast. He put me on the spot.
Man, I appreciate this so much. I'm so grateful.
Yep.
Happy.
I appreciate it, man.
I cannot wait for this to drop.
I appreciate y'all, what y'all are doing for the Ville now. Y'all carrying the torch. This is beautiful. You know what I mean? Everything y'all doing here is fire, bro. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. It's been a Put Me On Game podcast. We out.
And what's up?